starving cat left in disgust, the pink of respectability, resting after colonial service, labours at plant, the despair of his many benefactresses, calories exclusively from round trees and dumplings, 1 bar of sunlight does them all January and half February, the vie de vise animal diet, live in 5-storied semi-detached but rarely pay tradesmen, went security for friend who absconded, shares same closet with 14 similar cottages and an ill-famed lodging-house, more respectable than some, widow pension but held to purchase, inherited silk hat from father-in-law, head of domestic economy never mentioned, query how they live, reputed to procure, last 4 occupants carried out, mental companionship with mates only, respectability unsuccessfully aimed at, copious holes emitting mice, decoration from Uganda chief in locked ivory casket, grandmother has advanced alcoholic amblyopia, the terror of good men's field, and respected and respectable as respectable can respectably be, though their horrible omission were the horrors I could have expected. All, let them all come, they are my villains, with chartularies I have tall-edged them. Wherefore I will and firmly command, as I will and firmly commanded upon my royal word, and cause the great seal now to be affixed, that from the farthest of the father of their fathers to their children's children's children they do inhabit it, and hold it for me unencumbered, and my heirs, firmly and quietly, amply and honestly, and with all the liberties and free customs which the men of Tallbris, a city of Tallbris, have at Tallbris, in the county of their city, and through whole my land. Here too my vouchers, knife and snuff-box, fee for farm, Enricus Rex. Struggling for lungs I have livramentoed, mills on mills of mancipels. Lo, I have looked upon my pompadours in their recencies, and my drummers have tattled tall tales of me in the land. In morganatics lit, I hope, in Cyril cellars loosed I bleak mealers. On my siege of my mighty, I was parciful of my subject, but in street walks that are darkest, I devilled them superb. I deemed the drug tales in my petticoats, and Domster dusty feats in my hosen clothes. At guys they were swathed, at folks slashed, the game for a Gomez, the loy for a Lynch. If I was magnanimous as steady love-giver, I revolutionized by my eruptions. The high and by way seeds I scattered 'em. In my graben fields so sowage I gathered 'em. In Sheridan's circle my wits repose, in black pits of the pested l'enfant he is dumbed. Hearts of oak, may ye root to peace. Rechabites abstain. Clayed sheets, pine-shrouded, wake not, walk not, silento morgue. Quo Waranto has his greats, my Sullivan and puissant lord V. King, regards for me, and he has given to me my necknamesh Flisterit, which is second fiddler to no man. These be my gentilician arms. At the crest, 2 young frish, etoiled, flappant, devoid of their habiliments, vested sable, with drua's argent. For the boss, a coleopter, pundant, party-fess-wise, blazoned sinister, at the slough proper. In the lower field a terce of lanciers, shaking unsheathed shafts, their arms crossed in saltire, embusked sinople. Motto in letters portent, Heri cras evo hodie. Idle were it, repassing from Elsa ground to the elder disposition, to inquire whether I, dragged asunder, be the forced generation of group marriage, holocryptogam of my Essenes, or carried of cloud from land of locust. In ousel galley born, I huddled till someone be the mass product of teamwork, 3 surtutes wrapped up in each other's, 2 twin pretty coaxes lived as one, troubled in trine or doubled in 2, for Abraham nude be I, or roberoid with the Fenians, of Fijian grafted ape on Murphish, surrounded by obscurity, by my virtus of creation and by boon of promise, by my natural-born freeman's journeyman right, and my other churches in her light, in so and such a manner as me it so besitteth, most surely I pretend and reclaim to opt for simultaneous, till day-bow break and show shadows flee. Thus be heck, verily, verily, time, place. What is your num, Bun? Who gave you that num, Pooh? Have you put in all your spare pennies? I'm listening. 3. Keep clear of pro pennies. 4. Mr. Televox, Mrs. Tauby Stim, and invisible friends, I may mean to say, annoying part of it was, had faithful Fulvia, following the weaning courses of this world, turned her back on her ways to gone on up hills upon search of louvers, brunette men of Ireland, Chief North Paw, and Chief Goes in Blackwater, and Chief Brown Pool, and Chief Night Cloud by the Deeps, or again had Fluvia, amber witch she was, left her chivily crocus bed at the bare suggestions of some prowling bywaymen from Moabit who could have abused of her, the fox rogues, there might accrue advantage to ask where in pell-mell her deceivers sinned. Yet no, it was vastly otherwise, which I have heard it by mummy Good's wife, as I chiefly and most heartily aver, for Fulvia Fluvia, idle woman to the Plusney born, ever did ensue till stead the things that pertained unto fairness. This whereom I am fond on, that which was loosed. Even so, for I waged love on her, and spoiled her undines, and she wept, O my laws. Till we meet, ere we part, all, this time 100 years. But I was firm with her, and I did take the reach of my delights, my jealousy, imashkt, beyashmakt, ears swayed, snout snooded, and did raft her fluming worthily, and did left lead her overland the pace, from Lax Leap up to Liffsloop, tiding down, as Portreeve should, whimpering by Kevin's Creek, and Hurdlesford, and Gardiner's Mall, long Riverside Drive, Embankment Lodge, to Rings End Flot and Ferry, where she began to bump a little bit, my dart to throw, and there by wave brink, on strand of south, with mace to mast high, tailless cow-howling, quailless highjakes, did I uprise my magician's punt pole, the trident sired a Triton stock, far ruler, and I bade those polyphysi boisterous seas to retire with themselves from us, rookwards, thou sea stammerer. And I abridged with dumb fine Norsemanship, till I had done abate her Maidan race, my Bersark bride, and knew her fleshly, when with all my body did I her worship. Min brillups wibe, heaven, he hall thundered, Hades, he flung bliss for hers. And I cast my 10-span joys on her, arshed overtopped, from bank of Call to echo bank, by dint of strong bow, Galata, so strang we were in one, male stream in she-gulf. And to ring stress I thumbed her, with yarn of Erin, and tradesman marked her leaf-lang mine, for all and singular, Ide, Egon, Morgans, and for Ervigs. Base your peak, you, strike your flag, what screech of shippings, what low of damp bulls. From Liveland, Hawks Givios, from Letland, Skalvids, with impress of Asias, and Queen Columbia for her paranymphs, and the singing sands for her bride's music. Goose gaze anointed uns, can eyes can zond, and me too she her shy blooms lifted. And I put the name and wedlock bolt and round her, the witch to carry till her grave, my Durden dearly, Appia, Lipia, Pluvia, Billa, whiles I her life her Amstel and Bean. I chained her chaste mate to grip fuming snugglers, her chambret I bestank so to spunish furiosos. I was her hoch-sized, her cleave unto, her Everest. She was my Annie, my Laura lad, my piece of it. Who cut her ribbons when not my prowess? Who exposed that heavenliness to beach-allured anchor rides when not I, Fry Forter? In Trinity huts they met my dame, picked their poke for me. When I foregather 'twas my sunbad, if I far seek rich my list. Had I not worked in my cattegut with dogs' hunds' crots to clean, and had I not gifted of my coat-aways Constantinople's aim, and fortified by my right as man of capital, I did ungirdle her about, my vermicelli vinaigrette, with all loving kindness as far as in man's might it lay, and enfranchised her to liberties of fringes. And I gave until my Lillian younger turkey thighs soft goods and hardware, catalogue pass him, and ladder-proof hosiery lines, see Stockingers' raiment, coquette coiffs, see Agnes hats, and Penningsworth's of the best taste of nags of jets and silvered water roses, and gewgaws of my pretty novelties, and wispy-waspy frocks of red ferns and laurelworths, transparences such as women cattle bear, and peltries piled, the peak of pims and slines and sparrows, lumens day, luminous luxuries on looks, la prima-mère, pirapirine, or de rainbow, sourire d'hiver, and a crinoline wide ashire, and patterns for her trillibies, that know she might the tortuars of the boots, and beads of wampum with to toy, and a mercery glaze of shard to mirror, for all daintiness by me and thee time, the coppin naggin hour. And I wound around my swanshan's neckplace a school of shells of moils marine to swing their say-sangs in her silence. And upping her at King's Count, her all-rich cry a loss on heading, what though exceeding bitter, I pierced her beak with order of the Dannebrog, Conig's great, Sollev, Sollev, with mares grease cressets at Leonard's and Dunphy's, and Madonna lanthorns before Quintacazas, and talon kindles, spearhead singeing knickenbookers, and mutton light burns, dipping downs in black holes, the tapers of the topers, and his bunting pall of hoist. For days there was no night, for nights were days, and our folk had rest from black heathen, and the pagans from the prince of patches. What was trembling sod quaked no more, what were frozen loins were stirred and lived. Gone the Septwar, dark, deadly, dismal, doleful, desolate, dreadful, desperate. No more the 12 mans, bloody, gloomy, hideous, fearful, furious, alarming, terrible, mournful, sorrowful, frightful, appalling. Peace, perfect peace. And I hung up at Yule my dwindling lunas, helped of kettle-flash nose, for the super whore of my frigid one, Columba mea frimosa mea, in waste windy tarred strait, and Elgin's marble halls, lamping limp from black to block through all Livania's vaulted empire, from anodes to cathodes, and from the topazolites of morn, Wickenlow flare, by Arklow's sapphire Siemens lure, and Wexford's hook and crook lights, to the polgers of Hyken cellar. Haven't you seen my pearls a-humming, the crown to my estuarine munificence? 3/4 of the sea I swept with draftness, and all an empties I bottled them up in Bellimport. When I stab-marooned Jack and Maturin, I was a bad boy's bogey, but it was when I went on to St. Petersburg that they gave my devil his dues. What is Caesar can hack in the old world, a Sawyer may hew in the green. On the island of Brazil the wilt of me perished, and I took my ploughshare sadly, feeling pity for me sword. Where bold O'Connie weds on Altamar, the tawny sprawling beside that silver burn, I set me, and settled with the little creature of my heart. Her intellects I charmed, with I call them utile thoughts, her turly hide I plumped with potatoes, for Amiens peas in plenty. My bibless beadles showed her triumphs of crafty gilt pageantries. Loft a stadum, doft our coster clother, con an owl with court-toppled baskets, or Noah Guinness, exposant of his bargeness, and Lord Joe's star to hump the body of the camel. I screwed the emperor down with 9 pins Gaelic, with 6 halfpennies for his hanger-on. My worthies were bist and tryst from Joshua to Godfrey, but my processus profitarum they would have plauded to perpetuation. Moral, book to be sure, see press. He's not all bum and belly, but his members handily food him. Steeving's grain for Greet's collegium, the SS Padrags in the harbour. And after these things I fed her, my Carlin, my Berlin Lensteer, upon spiceries for her garbage breath, italics of nobby lauch, and the rich morsel of the marrow-bone, and shanes of garlics, and swine's pepper, and gotha krauts, and pinky delisks, primes of meshales, and subtleties in jelly-work, come the feast of St. Pancras, and shortcake nutrients for Pa's and Pinkster's pudding, bready and nut-alled, and potted flesh meats from store-damp cooking, and the drugs of Kaffa and Jelupa, and shallots out of Ascalon, feeding her food convenient her for, to pass them into earth. And to my saffron-breathing mongoloid, the skinsig, I gave Beerwick's pulver and Uliv's oils, unguents of cuticure, for the swarthy search-all's face on her, with hand-ewers and groin scrubbers, and a carry-cam to tease her tussie out, the brown but comely, a mopsa's broom to twist her set, and club moss and wolf's foot for her more moister wards, amazing efficiencies, and my shop-soiled doveling, when weeks of kindness kinly civicised, in our saloons esquirial, with fine-glass bobets, draped embrasures, and gilt-edged librariums, I did devise my telltale sports at even bread, to wring her withers limbally, wheat ears, slap-banged, rapier-cut dean, bray, naps, spinado, and rantigo round. We had our lewd mares and our lady mayoresses, kowtowing and smooling full face on us out of their famous latenesses, oil-clothed over for habitation, and all pointed by hind. Tam Lane the Cossack, Dirk Wettingstone, Peter Stuyvesant, Outlawry O'Neill, Mrs. Currans, Mrs. Racing Figgis, Mrs. Dattery, and Mrs. Prunick Vetch. In him we trust. Footwash and sex principles apply to overseer Amos 5-6. She had dabbling time for exhibiting her grace of Alhambras, and done sink the blood and knobs in her Vauxhalls, while I, dizzed and dazed by the lumpty-thumpty of our interloopings, fell clock-sure off my ballast. In our Winter Palace did vampard for Ellanders. We lubbed Sir God for the sleep and the ghosts. She chafed her fuses at my Wiggins jewels, while she scalded her murmuries on my Snorrison sagos. In Paycook's throne, sire, she domineered, licking ices off the dormer panes, all admired her in camises. On Rideau Road Uana dwells, you mark well what you see. Let wealth were I, our panto creator, would theirs be tights for the gods, in little writ redding hats, and cindery yellows, and tinsel and glitter, and bibs on the hoods. I made nuisance of many well-pressed champdamours, and peddled freely in the scrub. I foredreamed for thee, and more than full mecht. I prevened for thee in the haunts that joy-belled frail lighter leaves for sturdy traymen, pelves ad hombres sumus. I said to the shiftless prostitute, let me be your fodder, and to Rhodys and Prater brothers, ciao, camarade. Evangel of good tidings, omniscient is the healer's word for the lost, loathsome, and whomsoever will, who in regimentation, through liberal donation in coordination for organization of their installation and augmentation, thus some annexation and amplification without precipitation, towards the culmination in latification of what was formerly their utter privation, competence, cheerfulness, usefulness, and the meed, shall in their second Adams all be made alive. My tow-tugs steered down Canal Grand, my lighters lay longside on Regalia water. And I built in urbs in Rure for Minna Elskede, my shiny brows, under astrolabe from my observatory, an earth closet with shown ejector wherewithin to be squat-squit in most convenience from her Sabbath needs, when open noise should stilled be. Did not I fest fix with mortar-board my universities, wholly rational and got-alike, sophister again sophister, life-sizers all? Was I not rosetted on 2 stellas of Little Egypt? Had not I rock-cut readers, heroes, gregos, and democriticos? Tricastellated, bimedalized, and by my 7-dialed changing charties, Ibernska Ulitzas, made not I to pass through 12 thread needles and Newgate and Vicus Veneris to coincide? My camels walk, colossa, no port sublimer, Bernard my gates. I polled ye many, but my fews were chosen. Voter, early voter, he was never too oft for old Sarum. Terminals 4 my staties were, the GNR, the Graceway, the Deb Wickwick, the Miff Greywes. And I set up twin minsters, the pro and the con, my stave kirks wove so northly of peeled wands, and attach a touchy flood mud. Now all loose brick and stone fest, freely masoned, arced for covenanters and shinners' refuge. Descent from above on us, Hagia Sophia of Australia, our orisons thy nave and apsides, our eon tone eons thy studvast vault. Hams circuitize, Shemites retrace, horns hush, no barkies, here hound is holy. All truant trolls made I come pull, all rubbling gnomes I pushed gow. Castles, Redmond, Gandon Dean, Shepherd Smith, Neville Heaton, Stoney, Foley, Farrell, the Nost, with Thornycroft and Horgan too, Sprid serve me, Gobelins guard. Techt my Tyleries, O tribes, O gentes, keep my keep the peace of my four great ways, O Theos infernals to Booth salvation, arcane celestials to Swettenberg's well health. My seven winds I trailed to maze her, and ever a wind had saving closes, and all these closes flagged with a gust, hoops for her, hats off for him, and ruffles through Niblo's guarding. And that was why Blabbus was raising his wall, and altering the Suzannes of his Nybours. And thirdly, for Evigs, I did reform and restore for my smuggy piggy sneeze, my sweet Coolocht, my Orban coy-quailing one, her paddy palace on the cross-knoll, with Mas Go Bell, 6-ton clash closhant, duominus, and Moetzatintis to commend the fitful. Doom-a-dim-dim-a-doom-a-dim-a-dim, and the origin of the Lords to tell forth's glory, and added thereunto a shallow laver to slub out her hell fire, and posied windows for her oriel house. Gospeli più milieu, Christus più milieu, Zack bots babazounded, all guns tarrolled, and she sasser-nach, chili bomb and 40 bonnets upon the altar stain. May all have mossy honours. Hoke, 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 hoke. And whole hail, snaefell, drear drizzle or sleet showers of blessing, where it froze in chalics, eller swam in the vestry, with fair skin, book, and ruling rod, vein of my virgin page, her chastener ever, I did learn my little Anna country mouse, in alphabeta camel temper, from Alderburg to Tannenew, with my raw rattan Atterdundrum. Ooh-ah, oh year, oh year, oh year. And I did spread before my Livy, where Lord Street lolls and ladies linger, and Chamomile Pass cuts Primrose Rise, and Coney Bend bounds Mulberry's Island, but never a blid had bledded or blooded since long ago, when the whole blighty acre was blady well pess-overed. My selvage mats of lech-worked lawn, my carpet gardens of Gurdon City, with chopes pyramidas, and musselimes, and beacon fires, and colossettes, and pencil torrises for the boss pleaches of the Semiramis, and esplanadas and statuesques and temple-ogues, the Pardonnel of Maynooth, Frati Ballo, Nielsen, Rare Admirable, Jean de Portalo, Connell Greatcloak, Guglielmus Collis, and for the Iliadiculus Passivucant, Gloriettas in Excelsior. For Erctes and for Follidays, till the Compolaniums of Calendarias, Gregor Romeos and Gypsy Julians, as such are pleased of theirs to walk. And I planted for my own hot lisping lass a quickset vineyard, and I fenced it about with huge Chesterfield elms and Kentish hops, and rigs of barlow and bowery nooks and green-wished villas and pampos animos and N.I. necessitades iglesias and ponds for aqueducts. A hawthorn dean, a fairy glen, the hollow val, the deer chase, Finnmark's how, against Lickybud month and Gleaner month, with a magic scene wall, rim, 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 for a queen's garden of her phoenix, and, hush, hush, I brood for my Alpine plurabelle, wig-warming wench, speak easy, my Granville, Brando, Dublin Lindub, the free, the fro, the frothy freshener, puss, puss, pussyfoot, to split the spleen of her maw. And I laid down before the trotters to my Eblanite, my stony, battered wagon ways, my Nord-South circulums, my Eastmoreland and Westland moor, running bulwards and suddenly parading, hearse-men, upslow, nuptialers get starting. Whereon, in man-tram of true men like Yahoo men, expect till Dutch conductor summoneth him all farts to pay, welcomen all hankin-hunken in this wangen of Hosea. Claude's days with the Arabin streets, Roma Reich's rickyshaws with his Spain's king's trumpeteers, mad-ridden mustangs, Buccarestive broncos, poster shays and turnin' taxis, and tall, tall Tilburys and noddies, others gigging gaily, some sedated in sedans, my prick-upping gents, a Roger, my damsels, soft side-saddled, covertly, and lordy-daw a perch behind, the mule and the hinny and the jennet and the mustard nag, and piebald shelties and skewbald orkneys, Step it lively, lift ye the left and rink ye the right, for her pleasure doer, and she'll a laughed in her diddy-did domino to the switcheries of the whip. Down with 'em, kick, play up. Mat aha, mar aha, Lou aha, Jo ahanna hanna hanna. What was that? Fog was? Too much sleep. Let's sleep. But really now, whenabouts? Expatiate then how much times we live in, yes? So nat by night by naught by naked in those good old lousy days gone by, the days, shall we say, of whom, shall we say? While kinder wardens minded their twins' bed, there now they stood, the sycamores, all four of them, in their quarton agues, the major key, the minor key, the ever-so, and the fermentarian, with their ballyhooric blow-reaper, titranicht by tetranoxt, at their pussy corners, and that old-time pally-aller-gas, playing copers fearsome with Gus Walker, the cuddy, and his poor old dying boozy cough, Esker Newksel Saggard Crumlin, Del me donk the way to Wumblin. Follow me beeline and you're bumblin', Esker Newksel Saggard Crumlin. And listening, so gladdied up, when nice child Kevin Mary, who was going to be commandeering chief of the choir boys' brigade the moment he grew up under all the auspices, Irish smiled in his milky way of creamed wibbling onage tustard and des tabbage, frighted out when bad brat Jerry Godolphin, who was hurrying to be Cardinal Scullion in a night refuge, as bald as he was cured enough under all the hospitals, foreign frowned down his wrinkly waist of methylated spirits, ick, and lemon-killy lees, ick, and pulverized rhubarberorum, icky. Night by silent sailing night, while Infantina Isabel, who will be blushing all day to be when she growed up one Sunday, St. Holy and St. Ivory, when she took the veil, the beautiful presentation nun, so barely 20 in her pure coif, Sister Isabel, and next Sunday Misselmas, when she looked to Peach, the beautiful Samaritan, still as beautiful and still in her teens, nurse Saintette Isabel, with stiff-starched cuffs, but on holiday, Christmas, Easter mornings, when she wore a wreath, the wonderful widow of 18 springs, Madame Isa Veuve la Belle, so sad but luxom, in her boy blues long black, with orange blossoming weeper's veil, for she was the only girl they loved, as she is the queenly pearl you prize, because of the way the night that first we met she is bound to be, methinks, and not in vain, the darling of my heart, sleeping in her April cot, within her singer-chamber, with her green-gage-flavoured candy whistle duetted to the crazy quilt. Isabel, she is so pretty, truth to tell, wildwood's eyes and primrose hair, quietly, all the woods so wild, in mauves of moss and daphne dews, how all so still she lay, neath of the white-thorn, child of tree, like some lost happy leaf, like blowing flower stilled, as fain would she anon, for soon again 'twill be, win me, woo me, wed me, ah, weary me, deeply now, even calm lay sleeping. North upon Nacht, while in his tumbrel Wachtman have a look sequel scenes, from yon sides of the choppy, punked by his cursor bog, went long the grass gross bumpin' strass that hinders the pobble to pass, stowing his bottle in a hole for it wet his waskel to stretch a crooks man, sequestering for lovers lost propertied offices, the leave things from all purgers night, or nice august nasty, kickers, brillers, nappers and bands, hands, boon and strumpers, sminky sticks and etiquette's flaskers. One fine night, and the next fine night, and last fine night, while Catherine the slop in her native's chamber cushy, with dreamings of simmering my veal store, was basking to her pillow sleep, how she thought to nog, came to the downstairs door at that hour to pierce the air, and down she went, shrit be shrat, to see was it Shreep's Mingerels or Shohorn the post, with a tillycramp for himself and co esquire, or them 4 horsemen on their porkaloops, Norris, Soothbys, Yates and Welks, and Gildor, bit of the sains in hevel. There was a crick up the sturkis, and when she rose the cankle to see, Gildori, Down and she went on her knees to bless herself, that were nogging together like milk juggles, as if it was the rake of the Habsburgs, or old Congander O'Toole of the mountains, or his goo-goo ghosts she seen, sliving off over the sawdust lobby out of the back room, one tur that was everyone's in turns, in his honeymoon trim, holding up his finger halves with the clue key in his fist ball, Tucker of Davies, Tucker of Ivily, for her to wish just sow belly, and the whites of his pious eyebulbs swearing her to silence and court. Each and every juridical sessions night, when as good men 12 and true at fox and geese in their numbered habitations, tried old Wireless overboard in their due remembers, whereas by referendum they found him guilty of their and those imputations of fornicolopulation with 2 of his albocrural correlations, on whom he was said to have enjoyed by anticipation, when schooling them in a moan mid-grass she sat when man was amazingly frank, for their first conjugation, whose colours at standing up from the above were of a pretty carnation, but if really 'twere not so of some dear-attained denudation with intent to excitation caused by his retrogradation among fire-armed forces proper to this nation, but apart from all titillation, which, he said, was under heat pressure, and a good mitigation, without which in any case he insists upon being worthy of continued alimentation, for him having displayed, he says, such grand toleration. Reprobate so noted and all as he was, with his wash-leather Swedes and his smoking stump, for denying transubstantiation, nevertheless, in respect of his high-powered station, whereof more especially, as probably he was meantime suffering genteel tortures from the best medical attestation, as he oftentimes did, having only strength enough by way of festination to implore, or I believe you might have said better, to complore, with complete obsecration on everybody connected with him, the curse of coagulation, for he tells me outside Salmon's in King Street, after 2 or 3 hours of close confabulation, by this pewter pint of Gilby's goat's whey, which is his prime consolation, albeit involving upon the same no uncertain amount of esophagus regurgitation, he being personally unpreoccupied to the extent of a flea's gizzard and eructation. If he was still extremely offensive to a 4 nostrils dilatation, still he was, likewise, on the other side of him, for some net men's eyes, a delectation, as he asserts without the least alienation. So praise of his fault you would make obliteration, but for our friend behind the bars, though like Adam Findlater, a man of estimation, summing him up to be done, be what will of excess his exaltation, still we think with Sully there can be no right extenuation for contravention of common and statute legislation, for which the fit remedy resides for Mr. Sully in corporal amputation. So 3 months for Gobbs Jeroboam, the froth-whiskered pest of the park, as per Act 1, Section 2, Schedule 3, Clause 4 of the 5th of King Jark, this sentence to be carried out tomorrow morn by Nolans Volans at 6 o'clock sharp, and may the east wind and the hopping hail malt mercy on his 7 honeymeads and his hurly-burly growth. Amen, says the clerk. Niece by nice, by neat, by natty, whilst amongst reverie's happy gardens, 9 with 20 lake-slipped yearlings, darters all, had such a ripping time with gleeful cries of what is nice topping Sean made of, made for, and weeping like fun, him to be gone, for they were never happier, hoo-hoo, than when they were miserable, ha-ha. In their bed of trial, on the bolster of hardship, by the glimmer of memory, under coverlets of cowardice, Albatross Nyanza, with Victor Nyanza, his mace of might mortified, her beauty fell, hung up on a nail, he, mister of our fathers, she, our moderine roo-a-roo-roo, they, I, by the holy poker and blazier, they are as sure as Dinny drops into the dike. A cry, off. Where are we at all? And whenabouts, in the name of space? I don't understand. I fail to say. I dare see you too. House of the Cedar Balm of Mead, Garth of Fian, scene and property plot, stage managers prompt, interior of dwelling on outskirts of city, groove 2, chamber scene, boxed, ordinary bedroom set, salmon-papered walls, back empty Irish grate, Adam's mantle with wilting elopement fan, soot and tinsel condemned. North, wall with window practicable, Argentine encasement, vamp, pelmet above, no curtains, blind drawn. South, party wall, bed for two with strawberry bedspread, wicker worker club sessile and cane-seated Milliken stool. Book shrine without, face towel upon. Chair for one. Woman's garments on chair. Man's trousers with cross-belt braces, collar on bed knob. Man's corduroy surcoat with tabrets and taces, sea-pan nacre buttons on nail. Woman's gown on ditto. Over mantelpiece, picture of Michael, Lance, slaying Satan, dragon with smoke. Small table near bed, front. Bed with bedding. Spare. Flag patch quilt. Eiderdown design. Limes. Lighted lamp without globe. Scarf, gazette, tumbler, quantity of water. Jewel pot, ticker, side, props. Eventuals, man's gummy article, pink. A time. Act. Dumb show. Close-up, leads. Man with nightcap in bed, 4. Woman with curl pins, hind. Discovered, side point of view. First position of harmony. Say, eh, ha. Check action. Mat. Male, partly masking female. Man looking round, beastly expression, fishy eyes, paralleliped homoplats. Gazometron pondus, exhibits rage. Business. Ruddy blonde, Armenian bowl, black patch, beer wig, gross build, Episcopalian, any age. Woman. Sitting, looks at ceiling. Haggish expression, peaky nose, trecant mouth, feathery white, exhibits fear. Welsh rabbit taint. Nubian shine, nasal facet, turfy tuft, undersized, free kirk, no age. Close up, play. Call boy, cry off, tabler, her move. Footage. By the sinewy forequarters of the mare Pocahontas, and by the white shoulders of Fionnuala, you should have seen how that smart sallow lass just hopped a nanny's gambit out of bunk, like old Mother Mesopotomac, and in 8 and 864 she was off, door, night lamp with her, Billy's large limbs progering after the Queen's lead, promiscuous home bound to Fiammel la Diva. Huff, his move, blackout. Circus, corridor. Shifting scene. Wall flats, sink and fly, spotlight working wall cloths, spill playing rake and bridges, room to sink, stairs to sink behind room, 2 pieces, haying after cue, replay. The old Hamburg looks a thing incomplete so. It is so, on its dead, but it will pawn up a fine head of porter when it is finished. In the quick time, the castle arkwright put in a checkered staircase, certainly. It has only one square step to be steady, yet not with stumbling are they stalemating backgammoners upstairs by skips and trestles till top double corner. Whist, while, and game. What scenic artist! It is ideal residence for Rialta. By hymns in gang till tink to tunning bell, the limon mister that boggy god be air-waked. Ling, 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 be there maggies in all. Chump, do your effort. Shop, please shop. Shop, a-do please. Oh, a-do please shop. How ominous his house haunted. Yes, as in dead it be. Noggin of imperial measure is begraved beneath her. Here are his naggins poured, his Aladdin lamps. Around the bloom-beard booty with the best. For them whom he have fordone make we newly thankful. Tell me something. The porters, so to speak, after their shadow stealers in the newsbaggers, are very nice people, are they not? Very. All for like Ted. And on this wise, Mr. Porter, Bartholomew, heavy man, a stern mackerel shirt, Hayamat peruke, is an excellent forefather, and Mrs. Porter, leading lady, a poopa head, Gaffney saffron nightdress, Ishopi chepelure, is a most kind-hearted messmother. A so united family pater mater is not more existing on paper or off of it. As keymaster fits the locket weds, so this bally builder to his streamline secret. They care for nothing except everything that is all porters. Porto d'Abruzzo. Isn't that terribly nice of them? You can ken that they come of a rarely old family by their costumance, and one must give that one supped of it in all tonarts from awe to zest. I think I begin to divine so much. Only snackest me trusum, I stonus I'm able. To reach a skier do, still hoira, till venstra. Here are 2 rooms on the upstairs, at fork flank and at knife canter. Whom in the wood are they for? Why, for little porter babes to be saved. The coeds, boy Tom Thwackers and Timby Teaser. Here is one thing you owed to know. This one once upon a while was the other, but this is the other one nowadays. Ah, so? The Corsicos? They are numerable. Guessed them. Major bed, minor bekive. Hellosovat sovus. Who sleeps in now number 1, for example? A pussy, per example. Cunina, Statulina, and Edulia, but how sweet of her. Has your pussy a pest name? Yes, indeed. You will hear it passim in all the noveletta, and she is named Buttercup. Her bare name will tell it a monitress. How very sweet of her, and what an excessively love-charming missy name to forsake, now that I come to drink of it filtered. A grace cup full of bitterness. She is Dadad's lottiest daughter pearl, and Bruder's sissiest auntie-bride. Her shellback thimble casket mirror only can show her dearest friendine. To speak well her grace, it would ask of Grecian language, of her goodness, that legend golden. Virgina senua, Lorias with Lilias flockaflake arrosas. Here's New Year's prey, the posky floor, a winda-born and heliotrope. There Miriam sweet and amaranth and marigold to crown. Add lightest not unto tiptition. O caris, o carissima. A more intrigant bambolina could one not colour up out of Boccuccia's enamoron. Would one but do a part to Lilibet, her virginelles, and so to breath, so there between, behold, she had instant with her hand made as to grasp the myth in mid the air. Mother of Moth, I will to show her word in flesh. Approach not for ghost's sake, it is dormition. She may think, what though little doth she realize, as morning fresheth, it hath happened her, you know what, as they too what too dare not utter. S'il vous plaît, if scolded, she draws a face. Petticoats asleep, but in the gentle nest of her thoughts a poo is a nurse-bin. To be presented, babs for Wimbushie, of course, and with enticers. Up, girls, and at him. Alone? Alone what? I mean, our strife-stirrer. Does she do flirty winkies with herself? Pussy is never alone, as records her chambrette, for she can always look at biddles and talk pet names with her little playfilly when she is sitting downy on the plush mat. Oh, she talks, does she? Marry, how? Rose-petaleted sounds. Ah, biddles is my plick-plack, a plick-plack with my biddles. A nice Jezebel baritinette she will gift, but I much prefer her misnomer in maidenly, golden, lass-like, gladsome, wenchful, flowery, girlish beauty capes. So do I, much. Dulce delicatissima. Doth Dolly weeps she is Hastings? Will Dally bump Setty at his tub time? Allah leafest, she who pities very pebbles, dare we not wish on her our thrice aunts? A lovely fear, that she 7 tiptoe her christening, that she spin blue to scarlad till her temples veil, that the mount of Huam it open it her to shelter up. She will blow ever so much more promisefuller, believe me, than all the other common Mary Gales that romp round Bridget's school, charming Carrie Whombers, or saucy Susie Mosspan of Mary Anna Patchbox, or silly Polly Flinders. Platch! A plick-a-plack. And since we are talking amnesty of Bruckus Loop, crazed days, who does in sleep room number 2 bis? The two birds. Holy policeman! Oh, I see. Of what age are your birdies? They are to come of twinning age, so soon as they may be born to be eldering like those olders while they are living under chairs. They are, and they seem to be so tightly attached as two maggots to touch other. I think I notice, do I not? You do. Our bright bull babe, Frank Kevin, is on Heartsleave side. Do not you waken him. Our far-heard bode, he is happily to sleep, limb of the Lord, with his lifted in blessing, his buckalisa. Like the blessed angel he looks so like, and his mouth is semi-ope, as though he were blodeling on a bugle. Whene'er I see those smiles in eyes, 'tis Father Quinn again. Very shortly he will smell sweetly when he will hear a weird to wean. By gorgeous, that boy will blare some night when he will take his Danes' pledges and quit our Ingleteers, spite of undesirable parents, to wend him to America to quest a cashy job. That keen Dean with his Veen nonsolence. Oh, I adore the profane music. Dollar mighty. He is too adorable, really, unique. I guess to have seen some kid like him in the storybook. Yes, I met somewhere some lamb to whom he will be becoming like her. But hush, how unpardonable of me. I beg for your venials, sincerely I do. Hush. The other, twined on Codliver side, has been crying in his sleep, making sharp shape his incisors on some first-choice sweets fished out of the muck. A stake in our mead. What a teething wretch! How his book of craven images. Here are posthumous tears on his intimel, and he has pettishly bespilled himself from his founding pen, as ill spent from inking horn. He is James Joy Pit-Poo-Pat, Jotum for a Sobrat, Jerry Jehu. You will know him by name in the capers, but you cannot see whose heel he sheepfolds in his wrought hand, because I have not told it to you. Oh, fetal sleep, ah, fatal slip, the one loved, the other left, the bride of pride least to the stranger. He will be quite within the pale, when with Lord Biron brow he vows him so tosseth to be of the Sir Blake tribes, bleak, while through life's unblessed he roads backs of banners. Are you not somewhat vulgar with your bowels? Whatever do you mean with bleak? With pale Blake, I write tinting-faced. Oh, you do? And with steel white and blackmail I have sent for my sweet an anemone's letter with the gold of my brightest hair betide. Donatus his mark, address as follows. So you did? From the Cat and Cage? Oh, I see and see. In the ink of his sweat he will find it yet. What Gypsy Devereux vowed to Lillian, and why the elm, and how the stone. You never may know in the preterite all, perhaps, that you would not believe that you ever even saw to be about to. Perhaps. But they are two very blisky little porterines after their bread scrums, jerk off and eats up. As for my part opinion, indeed, they would be born so, costard, Puck and Prig, the merry boy at Donnybrook Fair, the Godolphin lad in the Hoy's Court. How frilled one shall be as a tailed old of Formio and Cigalette. What folly innocence! There's wet pepper puppyhood. Both barm hearts shall become yeast cake by their breakfast. I will to leave a my copper-wise blessing between the pair of them, for Rose and Gorge, for Green a Fang, Blesh and tin soldies, wheels in a sniff-box. Sons hold, all's parted. Weeping shouldst not thou be when man falls, but that divine scheming ever adoring be. So you be either man or mouse, and you be neither fish nor flesh. Take and take, velicate niche. Be ones as we's forgives, now the hour of passing sembles quick with quell. Adieu, soft adieu for these nice presents, Kerry Jevin. Still to sorrow. Gemini, what is the view which now takes up a second position of discordance? Tell it, please. Mark? You notice it in that rear way because the male entail partially eclipses the fem covert. It is so called for its discord, the mi-si-do. You ever heard the story about Helios Croesus, that white and gold elephant in our zoo park? You astonish me by it. Is it not that we are commanding from fullback, woman permitting, a profusely fine bird's-eye view from behind this park? In his park has been much the admiration of all the stranger ones, Greekish and Romanos, who arrive to here. The straight road down the centre, see relief map, bisects the park, which is said to be the largest of his kind in the world. On the right prominence confronts you the handsome Vines Regent's Lodge, while, turning to the other supreme piece of cheeks exactly opposite, you are confounded by the equally handsome Chief Sacrissary's residence. Around is a little amiably tufted, and man is cheered when he bewanders through the boskage how the nature in all Frisco is enlivened by gentlemen's seats. Here are heavy suppers. 'Tis for daddy's housings for 100 heirs of our super-thin 1,000. By gum, but you have resin. Of these tall worts are yielded out juices for joint oils and papasses for paynims. Listen it, 'tis a tree story. How Olive that virile was a plantad in her live side. How Tanneboom held Tonobloom. How rude in Norland. The black and blue marks athwart the weald, which now barely is so stripped, indicate the presence of Sylvius Beltings. Therewithal shady rides lend themselves out to rustic cavalries. In yonder valley, too, stays mountain sprite. Any pretty deers are to be caught inside, but it is a bad pities of the plain. A scarlet pimpernel now mules the mound where anciently first murders were wanted to take root. By feud Fingallion. Talking tree and sinning stone stay on either hand. Historical leaves droppings may also be garnered up with Sir Seamus Swiftpatrick, Archfield Chaplain of St. Lucan's. How familiar it is to see all these interesting advanements with one's snaked's eyes. Is all? Yet not. Here one, at the bottom fundus of this royal park, which, with Twigate Chiasian Gardinen, is open to the public till night at late, so well the Sisistrides, so will the Pederestians. Do not fail to point to yourself a depression called Hull Hollow. It is often quite got a gloomering in our duel, and gives one curious thoughts to the head, but the banders of the Pentapolitan Police forces bassoons into it on windy Woodens days their well-booming Wolvertones. Ulvos, Ulvos. Where folk durst tau begin to tremble by our moving pictures, at this moment when I am to place my hand of our true friendships upon thee knee, to mark well what I say. Thou sayest who? In Amsterdam there lived a... But how? You are trembling, you wretched, like a very jerry. Niet? Will you guinea, sir? Guy Boyle of Staub? To feel you? Yes, how it trembles, the timid. Vortigern, Gortigern, overlord of Mercia. Or doth brain skin flinch grief? Stemming, what voyageness. Soul shadow shows. 'Tis just Gibberweek's joke. It must have stole. Oh, keep silence, both. Put shame you. I have heard her voice somewhere else's before me in these ears still, that now are for mine. Let off. Slow muses. Funner in the air. You were dreaming, dear. The Fodrig? Shoo. Here are no fanthers in the room at all, Avikeen. No bad bold father, dear one. O pop capello, muy malinchili malchic. Goth gorod father go down follow it to Mollo, the lucky load to Lublin, for make his thoroughbase gross man's bigness. Take that two-piece big slap bold hunty bottom side, pap pa. Line dormis, malbone dormas. Kia li crias nicte, parolas infanetes. only all in your imagination dim. Poor little brittle magic nation, dim of mind, shew to me now, dear, shew of me. While every stream winds sailing on for to keep this barrel of bounty rolling, and the night mail afar from morning nears. When you're coaching through localized, on the sulphur spar to visit, it's safer to hit than miss it, stop at his inn. The hammers are telling the cobbles, the Picts are hacking the Saxons, it's snugger to borrow a bed than ballet on Broadway. Tuck in your blank, for it's race pound race, the hosties rear all roads to ruin, and lairs by lifetimes laid down riches from poor men. Cried unions to chip, saltpetre to strew, gall pitch to drink, stone bread to break, but it's bully to gulp good blueberry pudding. Doze in your warmth, while the elves in the moonbeams, feeling why, will keep my lily gem gently gleaming. In the sleeping chambers, the court to go into half-mourning, the four seneschals with their palfrey to be there now, all belabing in their cellabouts and sharping up their pennicils, the both either soakers soon at hold-up tent-stickle, the swab sister Katya to have done talking and to keep shaking in down her drogedars, those 12 chief barons to stand by duodesmally with their folded arms and put down all excursions and false alarms, and after that to go back now to their Runnymede farms and recompile their magnum charterums with the width of the road between them and all harems. The maid brides all, in favours gay, to strew sleety cinders on their falling hair, and for would-be joy bells to ring sadly ringless hands. The Dame Dowager to stay kneeled how she is, as first motherer with cord and coil. The two princes of the Tower Royal, Dolphin and Evelyn, to lie how they are without to see. The Dame Dowager's Dufgerant to present weapon, blade drawn to the full and about wheel without to be seen of them. The infant Isabella from her coin to do obeisance toward the Dufgerant as first fotherer with drawn brand. Then the court to come into full mourning. Herein see ye fail not. Vidu porcego, ili vi rigardas returnu porcego, maldelicato. Gauze of heaven, vision, then, oh, plucksty suddenly, the sight entrancing. Hummels, that crag, those hullocks, oh, sire, so be accident occur is not going to commence. What have you therefore? Fear you the donkers of rovers? I fear lest we have lost ours, none granted, respecting these wildy parts. How is hit Finister? How shagsome all and beastful? What do you show on? I show because I must see before my misfortune so a stark pointing pole. Lord of ladders, what for lungeth you? Can you read the first legend hereon? I am Hathor of the Mist. I read, to the Dunleary obelisk via the rock, what miles knocks furlongs? To the General's post office, thousands of patience. To the Wellington Memorial, half a league wrongwards, to Sarah's bridge, good 109 to meet her. To the point, one yeoman's yard. He. At that, do you leer, a setting up, with a such unfettered belly? 2 cascades? I leer. Oh, my big, oh, my bog, oh, my big backbone, because I must see a bunting cap of so a pinky on the point. It is for a true glover's greetings, and many burgesses by us, greats and grosses, uses to pink it in this way, at tete. For long has it been effigy of standard royal when broken on roof staff, which to the gunnings shall cast welcome from Court Millet's fortress, umpty-dum, dumpty-dum. Bemark you these hangovers, those streamer fields, his influx. Do you not have heard that the Queen lying abroad from fury of the gales, meek nay mock titles her Nanetta, her liege of Latine dignities, shall come on their bay tomorrow, Michaelmas, Mellems the 3rd and 4th of the clock, there to all the king's ossies and all their king's men, knechts, tramplers and cavalcaders, led of Herald Greycloak, Olaf Goldershield? Dog, dog, her lofts will be loosed for her, and their tumblers broodcast. A progress shall be made in walk, nay, I trow it well, and uwe by uwe. He shall come, sidesman accostant, by Arian Jubilarian, and on Brigadier General Nolan, or and Buccaneer Admiral Brown, with, who can doubt it, his golden beagles and his white Elcock's terriers, for a hunting on our little go Ilcom faxes. In blue and buff of Beaufort the hunt shall make. It is publice noblige. Arms will grin through collars when each rider's other's ass. Me eccles, what catskillings over all! What popping out of guillotined widows! Quick time, beware of waiting. Squintina plies favours on us from her rush frail, and Zosimus the Crowder in his surcoat soothes us with south-twister. Apart we, here are gantlets. I believe by plenty folks miximost, yet if I durst to express the hope how I might be able to be present. All these peoplers entrammed and detrained on bikey-gels and troy-cackles, and those puny-farting little solitaires. Tullacre, Tullacre. Polo North will beseem Cybernian, and plain Peluta will be howl nae yerking at Lawn Castrum, nae gimballing on Guelflinks. Mouser Misma shall cease to stretch her, and come abroad for what the blinkins is to be seen. A Ruba, a Rancha, a full wide, a very dust, and as credulous behind as he was before behind a damson of a slow coach. Mv. The animation of Eva Busies, the liveliness of her laughings, such as a plurality of bells. Have patience, pray you, place to dames. Even the Lady Victoria Landowner will leave to lull and parasol, all giddied into gush gasps with her dicky standing. Britus and Gothius shall no more justle for that sun place, but mark one month, when, with sea so silent, Claudia Eidwalchis, good and dewed up, shall let fall, yes, no, yet, now, a rain. Mucias grapcias. It is how sweet from her, the wistful, and they are soon seen swapsib so a sortrel as a miser. It is not the tear on this movement sped. Tix 6 pence. Poom, who'll pull the bull? Fool pay the bill. Be cups a canful. Peel, pull the bell. Still say me of ceremonies, much, much more. So please you, it stands in instoppressible, how Mynheer Mayor, our Burgomeister, Thon's staunch horseman, our Nancy's fancy, our own Nanny's big Billy, is hod-hoisted in best bib and tucker, with Wollington bots over buckram babishkis, and his clouded cane and neck-noose oriel, surrounded of his full cooperation with fixed baronets and mengar pueblos, restrained by chain of hands from Pinchgut, Hog Hill, Dark Lane, Gibbet Mead, and Bows and Lads and Bombelly, shall receive Don King at Broad Stone Barrow, meet a keys of good morrow unto his pompey cushion. Me amble duty to your grace's majors. Arise, Sir Pumpty Dumpty. Ear, weak ear, and allness ever sides. We but miss that horse elder, yet shushant of the wise grave leak in Capuchin Garden. At his be poison, old Cobbin Hobbin. 'Twill be tropic of all days. By the splendor of soul, perfect weatherest prevailing. This after, Swift's might mace deposing, he shall lay dress to his serenemost by a speech reading from his miniated vellum, Alfie Bernie Gammon Delta, Etzera Zezera Ekla Trikla Yota Captor Lomdom Nu, who meaning while that illuminatured one, Papiroy of Pepin reign, my sire, great big king, his scaffold is there set up, as to edify by Rex Ingram, pageant master, will be poking out with his cannule into the arras of what brilliant bridge cloths, and joking up with his tongue spits to the cremosing balcon ladies. Here's a help undo their modest stays, with a full below may the funny field belong. Odds bones, that may it. Carillianas will ring their gluckspiels. Rung, 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 rung. St. Presbyt in the north, St. Mark on the loop, St. Lawrence by the tool chest, St. Nicholas Meyer. You shall hark to Anoon, St. Gardner, St. George le Greek, St. Barclay moitered, St. Phib, Iona in the fields with Paul the Apostle, and all the altar and St. Jude at gate, Bruno friars, St. Wesleyan on the row, St. Molyneux without, St. Mary still a Mary's, with bride and audience behind wardwalk. How chimant, in effect, all the tingling peal of bells. So a many of churches one cannot pray one's prayers. 'Tis Holy Year's Day, Juin, Julie, we may, Agithet and Tranquilla shall demure unclosed, but Marlborough the less, great Christ and holy Protector, shall have open vigilances. Beata Basilica. But will be not pontification? Doc again, primatially, at water edge, Canterbury and Newer York may supplicate when by vapours, fortowned and travelled, his gold white sway stick lofty lifted, umbrella parasol, Monsignor of Dublin shall impart to all. Benedictus benedicat. To board and meal sight, unjoint him this bittern, frost me this chicken, display yon crane, thigh her pigeon, unlace alle rabbit and pheasant. Sing, old Finn cool, he's a mellow old soul when he swills with his fuddlers free. Pop up, hooray! For we're all jolly game fell hellows, which no bottle can deny. Here be trouts culponed for ye, and salmons chined, and sturgeons tranched, sanced capons, lobsters barbed. Call halt on eat words, mummy mo mummers. What, no Italians? How, not one Moll Pamelas? Accordingly, play actors by us ever have crashed to their gate. Mr. Messop and Mr. Borry will produce of themselves as their two genital men of Veruno, Signor Nauno and Signor Brolano, finally, all for love of a fair penitent that, a she be brought on, road as a rosy she. Their two big skins, how they strave to get her. Such a boy play, their bucci culture. What tyrant power, by our fays. My name is novel, and on the Granbian hills, bravos, thou traitor slave. My name's Ap Norval, and all the grand beyond mountains, bravossimos. The royal music their show shall shut with song slide to nature's solemn silence. Deep dulci dolando. My gentle harp add dirge. It will give pike turns on the tumlip lads, and foreign dances, and cross hurdles, and dull manovas, and Vesuvius pyrolithics, a snow of dawn flakes at darkfall for Grace's amnesty and our fancy ladies all assembled. Some whole time in hot town tonight. You do not have heard? It stays in book of that which is. I have heard anyone tell it yesterday. Master Courier with Brassard was't. How one should come on morrow here, but it is never here that one today. Well, but remind to think you where yesterday is Morgana's war, and that it is always tomorrow in Toff's Tover's place. Amen. True. Vouchsafe me more sound picture. It gives furiously to think. Is rich Mr. Paunter, a squire, not always in his such strong health? I thank you for the best. He is in taken deal exceedingly Herculeneous. One sees how he is a lot stoutlier than of formerly. One would say him to hold whole a littering sure of kidlings under his Abraham. Has handsome Sir Paunter always been so long married? Oh, yes. Lord Paunter Familias has been marrying man ever since so long time in Hurtleforth, where he appears as our oily the active, and yes, indeed, he has his Mick son, and his two fine Mac sons, and a superfine Mick want they Mac between them. She. But on what do you again leer? I am not leering, I pink you pardons. I am highly serious. Do you not must want to go somewhere on the present? Yes, oh pity, at earliest moment, that prickly heat feeling, for think not me spirits at always so gooey. Here we shall do a far walk, oh pity, any go kibitz, till the number 1 of Sarie's place. Is. I want you to admire her sceneries, illustrationing our national first route, 101. We shall too down look on that ford, where Sylvanus Sanctus washed but hurriedly those tips of his anointed. Do not show ever retross him crocodiled, till that you become quite crimstone in the face. Beware, guard of you, it is stealer of the heart. I am anxious in regard you should ever throne your siller sort. I will do sweet hefnut. These brilling wave-leap lights, please say me how sing you them. Seek hem, sechem. They arise from a clear spring well in the near of our park, which makes the daft to hear all blend. This place of endearment, how it is clear, and how they cast their spells upon the fronds that there upfloat, the book-staff branchings, the druggeted stems, the leaves incut on trees. Do you can their tantrist spellings? I can lays, skill mistress aiding. Elm bay this way, Calder take a message. Tawny runes, Ilex sallow, meet me at the pine. Yes, they shall have brought us to the water trysting by hedges of maiden firm. Then here in another place is their chapel of eases, sold for song, of which you have thought my praise too much my price. Oh, mamma, yes, sad one of Zion, sell me my soul, dear. Ah, my sorrowful, his cloistered reaping of his monkshood, how it is tryst to death, all his dark ivy told, where cold and dirt. Yet see, my blanching Kisabel, in the underclose she is also gay. Her kirtles green, her curtsies white, her peony pears, her nistling slows. I, pipette, I must also quicklingly to tryst myself softly into this little ease chapel. I would rather than Ireland, but I pray, make, do your easiness. Oh, peace, this is heaven. Oh, Mr. Prince of pouring to her, whatever shall I please to do? Why do you so life-size, my precious, as I hear from you with Limoning's lamentations after that swollen one? I am not sighing, I assure, but only I am so sorry about all in my Sarah's place. Listen, listen, I am doing it. Hear more to those voices. Always I am hearing them. Horse hem coughs enough, and she lisps privily. He is quieter now. Legal entitled, access to partners, not build a beach, by right of oaths, twain be one fresh. Heaven hold. Let us go. Make a noise, Slee. Quick, the girl. Hues of rich unfolding morn. Waken up, rise and prove. Provide for sacrifice. Wait, hist. Let us list. For our netherworld's bosom foes are working tooth and nail overtime in earth veins, toad cavities, chest ganglions, salt clusters, underfed, nagging fire nibblers, knockling atterman up out of his hinter clutch. Tomb be their tools, when the young dammers will be soon heart-pocking on their betters' door-knockers, and the young fries will be back frisking diamond cuts over their lying in underlayers, spick and spat, troweling a grave trench for their four-in-hand forebears. Vote for your club. Wait, what? Her door. Ope. See, what? Careful. Who? Live well in Ilguaritzas tone. Can't hear. Her daughter's off. Hoof. Her ask me no daughter's hope. Hoop. Elme, elsk me soon. Soon? Let us consider. The procurator, interrogarius me alterum, presents us this proposal. Onofrius is a concupiscent ex-service major who makes dishonest propositions to all. He is considered to have committed, invoking droit d'oreiller, simple infidelities with Felicia, a virgin, and to be practicing for unnatural coits with Eugenius and Jeremias, 2 or 3 Philadelphians. Onofrius, Felicia, Eugenius, and Jeremias are consanguineous to the lowest degree. Anita, the wife of Onufrius, has been told by her tirewoman, Fortissa, that Onufrius has blasphemously confessed under voluntary chastisement that he has instructed his slave Mauritius to urge Magravius, a commercial emulous of Onufrius, to solicit the chastity of Anita. Anita is informed by some illegitimate children of Fortissa with Mauritius, the supposition is Wares, that Julia, the schismatical wife of Magravius, is visited clandestinely by Barnabas, the advocate of Onufrius, an immoral person who has been corrupted by Jeremias. Julia, a cooler blend, Dalton insists, ex equo with Poppaea, Arancita, Clara, Marinuzza, Indra, and Iodina, has been tenderly debauched, in Halliday's view, by Onufrius, and Magravius knows from spies that Anita has formerly committed double sacrilege with Michael, vulgo Cerularius, a perpetual curate who wishes to seduce Eugenius. Magravius threatens to have Anita molested by Sulla, an orthodox savage, and leader of a band of 12 mercenaries, the Sullivani, who desires to procure Felicia for Gregorius, Leo, Vitellius, and Macdugalius for excavators, if she will not yield to him, and also deceive Onufrius by rendering conjugal duty when demanded. Anita, who claims to have discovered incestuous temptations from Jeremias and Eugenius, would yield to the lewdness of Onufrius to appease the savagery of Sulla and the mercenariness of the 12 Sullivani, and, as Gilbert at first suggested, to save the virginity of Felicia for Magravius when converted by Michael after the death of Julia. But she fears that, by allowing his marital rights, she may cause reprehensible conduct between Eugenius and Jeremias. Michael, who has formally debauched Anita, dispenses her from yielding to Onufrius, who pretends publicly to possess his conjunct in 39 several manners, torpita, affirm ex-cathedris Gerontes Cambrensis, for carnal hygiene whenever he has rendered himself impotent to consummate by subdolence. Anita is disturbed, but Michael comminates that he will reserve her case tomorrow for the ordinary Guglielmus, even if she should practice a pious fraud during affrication, which, from experience, she knows, according to Wadding, to be leading to nullity. Fortissa, however, is encouraged by Gregorius, Leo, Vitellius, and Macdugalius, reunitedly, to warn Anita by describing the strong chastisements of Onufrius and the depravities turpissimas of Canicula, the deceased wife of Mauritius, with Sulla, the Simoniac, who is abnegand and repents. Has he hegemony, and shall she submit? Translator lacks you breed abroad on, in the goods of Cape and Chatterton, deceased. This, lay readers and Gentile men, is perhaps the commonest of all cases arising out of umbrella history in connection with the wood industries in our courts of litigation. Doyley Owens holds, though Finn Magnusson of himself holds also, that so long as there is a joint deposit account in the two names, a mutual obligation is posited. Owens cites Brerefuchs and Warren, a foreign firm since deceased, registered as Tangos Limited, for the sale of certain proprietary articles. The action, which was at the instance of the trustee of the Heathen Church Emergency Fund, suing by its trustee a resigned civil servant for the payment of tithes due, was heard by Judge Doyle and also by a common jury. No question arose as to the debt for which vouchers spoke volumes. The defense alleged that payment had been made effective. The fund trustee, one Jucundus Fecundus Xero Pecundus Coppercheap, counterclaimed that payment was invalid, having been tendered to creditor under cover of a crossed cheque signed in the ordinary course in the name of Wildhelm Hurls Cross, voucher copy provided, and drawn by the senior partner only, by whom the lodgment of the species had been effected, but in their joint names. The bank particularized the national misery, now almost entirely in the hands of the four chief bondholders for value in tangos, declined to pay the draft, though there were ample reserves to meet the liability, whereupon the trusty copper-chief negotiated it for and on behalf of the fund of the thing to a client of his, a notary, from whom, on consideration, he received in exchange legal relief as between trustee and bethrust, with thanks. Since then, the cheque, a good washable pink, embossed D.U.D., number 1132, good for the figure and face, had been circulating in the country for over 39 years among holders of Pango stock, a rival concern, though not one demonetized farthing had ever spun or fluctuated across the counter in the semblance of hard coin or liquid cash. The jury, a sour dozen of stout fellows, all of whom were curiously named after Doyles, naturally disagreed jointly and severally, and the belligerent judge, disagreeing with the allied jurors' disagreement, went outside his jurisdiction altogether and ordered a garnishy attachment to the neutral firm. No mandamus could locate the depleted whilom Bray Fox, as he had entered into an ancient moratorium, dating back to the times of the early barters, and only the junior partner, Baron, could be found, who entered an appearance and turned up upon a notice of motion and after service of the motion by interlocutory injunction among the male jurors to be an obsolete turf woman, originally from the proletarian class, with still a good title to her sex name of Anne Doyle, 2 Coppinger's Cottages, the Doyle's country. Doyle, Anne, add woman in, having regretfully left the jury boxes, protested cheerfully on the stand in a long jury myad in re-corset checks delivered in Doylish, that she had often, in supply to brusque demands rising almost to bullion point, discounted Mr. Breakforth's first of all in exchange at 9 months from date without issue, and, to be strictly literal, unbottled in corroboration a current account of how she had been made at sight for services rendered the payee-drawee of unwashable blank assignations, sometimes Pink Williams, laughter, but more often of the crème de citron vert émail pancoque or marshmallow series, which she, as bearer, used to endorse adhesively to her various payers' drawers, who in most cases were identified by the timber papers as well-known tetigists of the city and suburban. The witness, at her own request, asked if she might, and wrought something between the sheets of music paper which she had accompanied herself with for the occasion, and this having been handed up for the bench to look at in camera, Coppinger's doll, as she was called, alias Macurse's Dar, the adopted child, then proposed to Jerrykin and Jurines, and every Jim, Jock, and Jerry in that little green courting-housey for her satisfaction, and as a whole act of settlement, to re-amalgamate herself tomorrow, perforce, in pardonership with the permanent suing fond trustee, Monsignore Pepigi, under the new style of Will Breakfast and Sparham, as, when all his cognizances had been estreated, he seemed to proffer the steadiest interest towards her. But this pre-proposal was ruled out on appeal by Judge Jeremy Doyler, who, reserving judgment in a matter of courts, and reversing the findings of the lower correctional, found, beyond doubt of Troyson, fending the disassents of the pick-pack panel, 12 as upright Judases as ever let down their thumbs, and occupante extremum scabiae, handed down to the jury of the Liffey that, as a matter of tact, the woman they gave as free was born into contractual incapacity, the Caliph of Man versus the Odalus Company, when, how, and where Mammy's Mancipium Act did not apply, and therefore held supremely that, as no property in law can exist in a corpse, Hal Kilbride versus Una Belline, Peppigee's pact was pure piffle, loud laughter, and Warham would whistle for the rhino. Will you, won't you, pango with Peppigee? Not for Nancy, how dare you do? And hew, 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 hew. He sighed in sleep. Let us go back, lest he forewaken, hide ourselves. While hovering dream wings folding around will hide from fears my wee me mannequin, keep my big wig long, strong man o' men, guard my bairn, mon beau. To bed. Prospector projector, and boomoster giant builder of all causeways whatsoever, hopping off point and true terminus of strack straight cuts and corkscrew perambulops. Zeal whence to goal with her, wanderlust, in sequence to which every muckle must make its mickle, as different as York from Leeds, being the only wise in a muck's world to look on itself from beforehand. Mirror-minded curiosities, and wood to the large, which bring hills to mole-hunter, home through first husband, perils behind swine, and horse-power down to Hungerford, prick this man and tit up this woman, our forced parents, Bogie Bobow with his cunning-nest couchmare, big Maester Finnegan with Phoenicia Parks, lame of his ear and gape of her leg, most correctingly we beseech of you, down their ladder case of night-watch service, and bring them at sun-time flush with the nethermost gang-rung of their stepchildren. Guide them through the labyrinth of their same-alikes, and the alter-ego asses of their pseudo-selves, hedge them both ways from all Romas whose names are Ligius, from loss of bearings deliver them. So they keep to their rights, and beware of duty-frees, Neolithic Smith and Magdalenian Ginny Jones, Mandragon Moor and weak Whiffy-Ducky, Morion Male and Thridacian Mad, Basilisk Glorious with his weeny queenie, Tiger Knack and Swan's Grace, he as hale as his ardoures, she as verve as her veins, this prime white arsenic with bismate alloyed, Marshal Sin with Peccadilly, free to lease hold with first mortgage, douse her dour and dipper deuce, stop that war and feel this feather, Norse blood heartened and Lansmoor washable, great gas with fun in the corner, grand slam with fall of the trick, solemn one and Chevy, cod and coney, cash and carry, in all we dreamed the part we dreaded, Corsair coupled with his dame, royal beaver but constant limp, Boniface and bonny features, nasal hose and river mouth, bang the change and batter the bolster, big smoke and lickly roasting, humanity's farman by society leader, wagoner and trolley, Humperd and Elf, Earl O'Moore with Myriborough, leeks and awfully, Basil Curse yet Grace Abonder, Reggie's producer with screen doll vedette, Peg of his claim and pride of her heart, Cliffscour grizzly but rock dove cooing, Hodin's tag on Frigavet, baron and femme, that he may dish cover her, that she may uncouple him, that one may come and crumple them, that they may soon recoup themselves, now and then, time on time again, as per periodicity, from Neves to Willses, from Bushmills to Enos, to Gertz from Harlem, to Hearths of Oak, from skittish widows, via Mala Hyber Pass, heck his way per Alp track, through lands vague and vain, after many man delays. In their first case to the next place, till their cousin carries. The high and the by, both pent and plain, cross cowslips yellow, past pumpkins penguined purplesome. Be they whacked to the wide, other tied to the hustings, long sizzle roads, neat after seat, him to the Derby, her to Tune, till Sengen tide do coddle 'em. In the grounds or unter linen, Rue to Lewes and Carcanny, at Shipside by Convent Garden, monk and sempstress in sackcloth silkily, curious dreamers, curious dramas, curious dayman, plagious dayman, plagiest dearest, plagiest durest. For the Strangford planters are protesting, and the Carkery felons dry flooring it, and the Leperty's laddos railing the way, blump for a slogo slee. Stop? Did a stir? No, he's fast. On to bed. So he is. It's only the wind on the road outside for to wake all shivering shanks from snoring. But whom got his villain? Who will he be, this mitry man, some king of the East, in his chrismy grey bronze wig, with the snow in his mouth and the Caspian asthma, so bulk of build? Relics of Farah and Levite, Dick Gill, Tom Long, or Macfinnan's cool herring? He has only his head cosy casket on, and his woolsey shirtpliss with pea-scod doublet. Also his feet wear doubled width socks, for he always must to ensure warm sleep between a pair of fully fleeced bankers like a Finnock and a call. Can thus be Mr. Norkman that keeps our hotel? Begor, Mr. O'Swordman, you're looking right well. Hector's champion ethnicist, how deft as a fox or shows daft as a fish. He's the Dibble's own Doges for Dublin existence. But a jolly fine decent form of one word. He's rounding up on his family. And who is the bodkin by him, sir? So Wolsey Valshy, with ibs and zabs, her Trixie's trail is tripping her, wop. Look at the way for the lucre of smoke she's looping the lamp. Why, that's all missness, wipe them dry. Well, 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 so wells, done no what, audacious me, with her half bend as proud as a pea-hen all about me, and her trout-beck quiver-lipe, ninya nanya, and her step to a jazzimus cullen the bustle, happy tiare ye naughty gay fru, selling sunlit soaps to washed-out winches, and rain-cold draughts to the props of his pubs. She tired lipping the swells at Pont de Lille, till she jumped the boom at Brownmouth. Now she's borrowed his head on the Heytesbury's hatch, and loamed his fate to old Love Lane. And she's just the same old ha'porth of dripping. She's even brent her fare. Which route are they going? Why, Angel Sitter or Amen Corner, Norwood Southwalk or Euston Waste? The solvent man in his upper gambeson, with not a breath against him, and the wee wiping woman housey. They're coming to rogue their diamond wedding tour, giants inch the elfkin's ell, vesting their characters Dick's endevilment. And Anzala, Athor's Earl, our first day man and your dresser and mine, that Luxemburger evic setis alzet, Königlich Shire with his queen's countess, Stepney's shipchild with the waif of his boatswain, Dunmo's flitcher with Duck on the Rock, down the scales the way they went up, under tolls and threading tormentors, shunning the star traps and slipping in sliders, risking a runway, ruing reveals, from Elder Arbor to La Prairie, skipping the clock back, crystalline carbon, sweetheartedly. Hot and cold and electricary, with attendance and lounge and promenade free, in spite of all that science could boot or art could eke. Bolt the grindin', cave and cannon, single Rex for the week, double X for the mail, and quick quack for the radios. Remove that Bible. You will never have post in your pocket unless you have brass on your plate. Beggards outdoor. Goat to the nth, thou slow guard. Mind the monks and their grasps. Scrape your souls. Commit no miracles. Postpone no bills. Respect the uniform. Hold the robbers for the cunning his plethron. Let leash the doves to the coo in her coin. Hate not have-nots. Share the wealth and spoil the weal. Peg the pound to Tom the devil. My time is on draft. Bottle your own. Love my label like myself. Earn before eating, grudge after drink. Credit tomorrow. Follow my dealing. Fetch my price. Buy not from Dives. Sell not to Freund. Hear now, chuck English and learn to pray plain. Lean on your lunch. No cods before me. Practice preaching. Think in your stomach. Import through the nose. By faith alone. Season's weather. Gomorrah. Salong. Lots feed from my tide table. Oils, wells in our lands. Let earwiggers wiveable teach you the dance. Now, their laws assist them and ease their fall. For they met and mated and bedded and buckled and got and gave and reared and raised and brought tall land within hard danger, and turned them, carrying to the sea, and planted and plundered and pawned our souls, and pillaged the pounds of the extramurals, and fought and feigned with strained relations, and bequeathed us their ills, and recrutched cripples' gait, and undermined long-acres, man planting 7 sisters, while one warm wood woman scrubs, and turned out coats, and removed their origins, and never learned the first day's lesson, and tried to mingle, and managed to save, and feathered foes' nests, and fouled their own, and wayleft the Arnots, and ponted Border walls for the Dolgabordand, and escaped from liquidation by the heirs of their death, and were responsible for congested districts, and rolled old logs into Peter's Sawyery, and werfed new woodcuts on Powley's wharf, and used Rachel's lee, and rammed Dominic's gap, and looked haggards after Lazar tables, and rode 80 odd winters, and struck rock oil, and forced a policeman, and collapsed at their fizzes in Tobias and Zachary, and left off leaving off, and kept on keeping on, and roused up drink and poured balm down, and were cuffed by their customers, and bit the dust at the foot of the pole, when in her dear garth he gave up his goat after the battle of Multaferry. Fair o with fairy, two lie, let them. Yet they wend it back, qual his life, immortality, bull sea boob and rivishy divil, light in hand, helm on high, to peekaboo dirk the thicket of slumware, till their hour with their scene be struck forever, and the book of the dates he close, he clasp and she seen her tour d'adieu, per vinca calling, so loscar hears. O she mo sham, and gentle is at gag, flispering in the night leaves flattery, insidiously to Finnegan to sin again, and to make grim grandma grunt and grin again, while the first grey streak steals silvering by, for to mock their quarrels in Dollymount tumbling. They near the base of the chill stair, that large incorporate licensed vintner, such as he is from former times, 9 hosts in himself in his hydrocomic establishment, and his ambling limpy peeping partner, the slave of the ring that worries the hand, that sways the lamp, that shadows the walk, that bends to his bane, the busy-next man, that came on the cop with the Fenian's bark, that pickled his widow, that primed the Pope, that passed it round on the volunteer's plate, till it cropped the ears of Purser's Relly, that kneed O'Connell up out of his dust, that shouldered Burke, that butted O'Hara, that woke the butler, that threatened his crowd, that bucked the jiggers to rhyme the Rand, that flooded the routes in Arian's Isles from Malin to Clear and Cansor Point to Slynagollo, and cleaned the pockets, and ransomed the ribs of all the listeners, lewd and lay, that bought the ballad that Husty made. Anyhow, the matter is a troublous and a penny loose. Have they not called him at many's their mock indignation meeting, Wayman's vengeance vective volleying, Inwader and Uitlander, the notables crashing libels in their Sullivan's mounted beards about him, their right renounceable patriarch? Heinz cans everywhere, and the Swanee her ain cell, and ere Awaker's family sock that they smuggle to life betune them. Roaring, Big Riley was the worst. Free booze for the man from the knock, sure he never was worth a corner wall fock, and his banishy's bedpan she's a queer old bite of a talk. As they wendled their zing-away wive-words from his find-me-cool's moist opulent vinery, hijacking through the Naggin Neck Pass, as they hauled home with their hogsheads, expostulating and claiming cold consolation, sursum cordial, from the blue funk fires of the Dipper and the Martian's frost. Use they not, are no small term traders, to abhors off from him, the yet unregendered thunder-slog presiding, how betwixt wifely rule and men's contia recti, then he-male man all unbracing to omni-women, but now she dropping his hitches like any maid of ale upper sight horse riders in an Idenhole? Ah, dear, oh dear, and Aurelian and his William, when they were all there now, matin marked for looking on, at the carry-for with all as Plautius, their happy as Claudius, and then unto the trivials, and their bivouac, and his monomyth. Ah, ho, say no more about it, I'm sorry. I saw, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say I saw. Gives there not two amongst us, after all events, or so grunts a leading head dromedary, some together gush of still and but all you know, that in so far forth as, all up and down the whole concreation say, efficient first gets there finally every time, as a complex matter of pure form, for those excess and that pass fault hard hearingness from their elfar in grips and rumblions, through fresh taint and old treason, another like that alter, but not quite such an ander, and still and but one not all the self-same, and but still one just the mame, and encore emmer him, may always, with a little difference, till the latest up-to-date, so early in the morning, have evertheless been all made amenable. Yet he begot 'em. Let us wherefore, tearing ages, presently preposterose a snatch vote of thanks-a-lot to the huskiest coaxing experimenter that ever gave his best hand into chance-a-risk, wishing him with his famlings no end of slow poison and a mighty broad venue for themselves between the Devil's Punch Bowl and the deep Anglesey board, that they may gratefully turn a deaf ear clooshed upon the desperanto of willy-nolly, their shareholders from Taff to Olive, that will curse them below par and mar with their descendants, shame, humbug, and profit, to green mould upon mildew over jaundice, as long as ever there's wagtail surtax to a test case on Edinburgh man. We have to have them, whether we like it or not. They'll have to have us, now then. We're here on their spot. Scant hope theirs or ours to escape life's high carnage of semper identity by subsisting piecemeal upon variables. Bloody certainly have we got to see to it, ere smellful demise surprends us on this concrete, that down the gullies of the eras we may catch ourselves looking forward to what will in no time be staring you larrikins on the post-face in that multi-mirror megaron of returning ties, whirled without end to end. So there was a Rocky, who in Difflinsborg did, with his soldering irons spade away hammer legs, and where there was a fair young, who was playing her game of, and said she, you rockabye, will you peddle in my bog? And he sod her in Ireland, paved her way from Maizenhead to Youghal, and that's how Humphrey, champion emir, holds his own. Shy sweet she rests. Or show upon him now, will you? Dark rod face should take Patrick's perch, hawk away in his hip-high berserk. Third position of Concord, excellent view from front. Sidomi, female imperfectly masking male. Red spot his browbrand, woman's the prey. Thon's the Dolaky Congsby og Blag Roggers wagon line. Private judges change here for Luther's town. Only Romans keep your seats. That drew all ladies, please, to our great metropolis. Leary, Leary, 20-ton nearly, he's plotting kings down for his villa's extension. Gaze at him now in momentum, as his bridges are blown to babby rags by the lee of his hulk upright on her orbits, and the heave of his juniper arcs in action. He's naval, I see. Poor little Tartanelle, her dinties a-chattering, the strait she's in, the bullock she bears. Her smirk is smeeching behind for her hills, by the queer quick twist of her mob cap, and the lift of her shift at random, and the rate of her gait of going the pace, 2 thinks at a time, her country I'm proud of. The field is down, the race is their own, the galleon man jovial on his bucky brown nightmare, big Rob dig nagging his lily puttana. 1 to 1 bore 1. The datter, ayo, sleeps in peace, and the twilling sons Ganymede, Garrymore, turn in trot and trot. But old Paramere goes at a gallop, Bosford and Phosphorine, 1 to 1 on. Oh, her fairy set alight, casting such shadows to Persia's blind. The man in the street can see the coming event, photo flashing it far too wide. It will be known through all Urania soon, like jealous joy tightening fear, like rumour reeing round the planets, like China's dragons snapping jappets, like Rhoda Grey up the east. Saturday's boost besets Phoebe's nearest. Here's the flood and the flaxen flood that's to come over helpless Erie land. Is there no one to Malahide live and her bettyship? Or who'll buy her rosebuds, jetty black rosebuds, min slows of Nivea, non-paps of Nan? From the fall of the fig to doom's last post, every ephemeral anniversary, while the park's police peals peering by for to wait down morals from County Bublin. That trainer's trundling. Quick, pay up. Kick a kick. She had to kick a laugh at her old stick in the block. The way he was slogging his paunch about, LBW-ble, meat oft mate on, like Hail King Willow the robber. Cane-maker's mace and waxen capapee, but the Tarrant's brand on his hot-await brow at quick in the morning, and her lamp was all askew and a trumbly wick in her, ringy-singy. She had to spoff her, she had to kick her, too thick of the wick of her pixie's loomp, wide-lickering Jessup the smoky chimney, and her duffed cover point of a wickedy batter, whenever she druv behind her stumps, for a tiddlesley wink through his tunnel-cleft bag slops after the rising bounders Yorkers, as he stood and stoddered and trotted and trumpered, to see had Lord Harry's Blackham's red bobby abbles. It tickled her innings to consort pitch at kicks o'lock in the morn, tippa-tonguing him on in her pigeony languish, with a flick at the bales for lubrication to scorch her faster. Ye heck ye, hock ye, hockey hiremonger, McGrath, he's my pegger, he is, for bricking up all my old Kent road. He'll win your toss, flog your old Tom's bowling, and I dare ye, barracky buller, to break his duck. He's posh, I love him. We're paring all Oogster till the MCCs run googly, declare to ashes and test his mitch. 3 for 2 will do for me, and he for thee, and she for you. Go easy, Osy, for the grace of the fields, or hooly-pooly copy. We'll both be by and by caught in the slips, for fear he'd tire and burst his Dunlops, and waken her Barney Barneys making his booby babies. The game old merryman, square to leg, with his lolly-wide towel hat and his hobsy socks, and his Wisden's boss and his nursery pinafore, and his gentleman's grip and his playboy's plunge, and his flannelly feely fooling, treading her hump and hamble down like a maiden well held over, with her crease where the pads of her punishments ought to be by womanish rights, when Keek, the hen in the door and Chanticleer, began in a kickery-key to laugh it off, yea, yea, nay, nay, the way she was wont to doodle-do by her gallows bird. How's that? No ball, he carries his bat. 932 not out, at all times long past conquering cock of the Morgans. How blame us? Cocorico! Our midgerand ever-fasting horde. Rico! So the bill to the boo, as the bell to the bow. We herewith pleased returned auditors' thanks for those and their favours since safely enjoined. Cocoree! Tell a man till a me. Tabernacle in Tipperary. Sons, travellers in company and their carriageable tochters, thanks tight and thin for her contractations towards his personnel. Ecco corico recco. Oh you me. Well, we all unite thoughtfully in rendering gratias. Well, between love's repast, begging your honour's pardon for, well, exclusive pictorial rights of appearing in next eon's issue of the Neptune Sentinel and Tritonville Light Owler, with, well, the widest circulation round the whole universe. Eccolo corico. How me, oh my you, who, my I-you, to I-yo. Thanks, furthermore, to modest Miss Glimglow and neat Master Metroson, who so kindly profiteered their services as demoiselle of honour, and well as strain-bearer, respectively. And a cordialist brief nod of Chin-Chin Dankishin to, well, patient Ringer's End, as prevenient, by your leave, to all such occasions, detachably replaceable, thanks to two's intact, as well as his auricula of Malthus, the Promethean paratona wetter, which first, prego, taught love's lightning the way, pity shown, to, well, conduct itself. Mercy, good shot, only please don't mention it. Come all ye goat-fathers and grown-mothers, come all ye mark-makers and pile-drivers, come all ye labour-saving devisers and charge-laden dividends, fire-finders, water-workers, deeply condeal with him, all that is still life with death in ye born, all verbum saps yet bound to be, to do and to suffer, every creature everywhere, if you please, kindly feel for her, while the dapple-grey dawn drags nearing nigh for to wake all droners that browse in Dublin. Humperfelt and Anunska, wedded now evermore in anastomoses by a ground plan of the place-hunter, whiskered bow and Donabella, totum vir and esquimina, who so shall separate fetters to new desire, repeals an act of union to unite in bonds of schismacy. Oh yes, withdraw your member. Closure. This chamber stands abjurant. Such precedent is largely a cause to lack of collective countenances among Donnelly's orchard, as lifelong the shady side, to Fairbrother's field. Humbo, lock your keckle up. Annie, blow your wickle out. Tuck away the table sheet. You never wet the tea. And you may go right away back to your antediluvian Humphrey after that. Retire to rest, without first disturbing your neighbour, mankind of baffling descriptions. Others are as tired of themselves as you are. Let each one learn to bore himself. It is strictly requested that no cob-smoking, spitting pub-chat, wrestle-rounds, coarse courting, smut, etc., will take place amongst those hours so devoted to repose. Look behind before you strip you. This robe clothed in the strictest secrecy which privacy can afford. Water none to be discharged, coram, grate, or ex-window. Never divorce in the bedding the glove that will give you away. Maid Maud ninnies nay, but blabs to O mamma, for your life would you, she to her bosom friend who does all chores. And what do you think my Madeleine saw? This ignorant mostly sweeps it out along with all the rather old corporators. Have you heard of one humble-down jungle man, how he bet Burnin' Bush playing peg and pom? The Magdalen River then gets its dues, adding a ding or two. Thence those laundresses. Oh, muddle me more about the Maggies. I mean Bonnie Madge Ellis and Brownie Magdalen. Attention at all. Every ditches dastard and dupling will let us know about it if you have paid the milkman by whether your rent is open to be foreclosed or aback in your arrears. This is seriously meant. Here is a homelet, not a hotel. That's right, old Horgan. All, in fact, is soon as all of old, right as any was ever in very old place. Were he, when scalded of that cooper fowl, to beat the bounds by here at such a point of time as this is, for at Samalap old Woods halfpence and Rivier's argent, half back from 3 gangs multiplus on a 20 lot, add all to a 5 with the deuce, or Romer's numbers A.L.P and do little ones, with the caboosh on him upheld for thrushes mistyles, yet singing out his parasangs in Cornish token. Mean for the East End apple celery, old laddie he high-hole. Policy patrolman seeker sen, townies tanquam, crumbling quiet down from his hunger, he would mak sicker of inked goods fortuned, ere shining 'em of light, turkling either any of Tunkle's windows. More, unless we were never so wrong taken, if he brought his boots to pause in peace, the one beside the other one right on the road, he would seize no sound from cache or cave beyond the flow of wand was gypsing water. Telling him now, telling him all about ham and livery, stay and toast ham and livery, and butter more with murmur laden, to wake our oats for him on livery. For all, hear all, at last it passed. Lo, but cod and herring, or wind thin mong them treen. Hiss, which we had only our haze light to see with, cert, in our point of view, me and my oxy, Jimmy Darcy, hadn't we, Jimmy? Who to seen with? Kiss. No kid, Captain, which he stood us 3 jolly post boys, first a couple of Mountjoys and Nutty Woodbines with his Cadbury's choculars, pep from a Theatre Regal's drollery's pantomime, in the snug at the Cambridge Arms of Teddy Ailes, while we was laying crown jewels to a peanut, was he stepmarm, old nose-heavy, or a widower, which he said, lads, a-taking low his Whitby hat, lopping off the froth and wishing, with all respectfulness to the old country, tomorrow, comrades, we, his long life's strength, and cure squeen loan to our all-hallowed king, the picture that he's turned to weld the wall, Lord lengthen him. His standpoint was to belt and blucher him afore the whole pleading church hall and submarine bar yonder, but he made no class at all in port, and cemented palships between our trucers, being a refugee, didn't he, Jimmy? Who true to me? Sish? Honeysuckler, that's what my young lady here, Fred Watkins, bugler Fred, all the ways from Melmoth in Natal, she calls him, dip the colours, pet, when he commit his certain questions vis-a-vis the secret empire of the snake, which it was on a point of our sutting down. How was it, Jimmy? Who has cinnarettes to declare? Hiss! Touching our Phoenix Rangers' nuisance at the meeting of the waitresses, the dainty lines, Elsie's from Chelsea's, the 2-legged gels in blooms, and those pest of Parkies, Twitch, Thistle, and Charlock, were they for giving up their fogging trespasses by order, which we foregathered he must be raw in cane sugar, the party? No, Jimmy Macaw at the lock? Who trespass against me? Briss, that's him, with his wig on, the chewing of his maple gum, that's our grain pawpaw, Mr. Beardall, an accomplished burgomaster, a great one among the very greatest, which he told us, privates, out of his own scented mouth, he used to was, my lads, afore this wine act come. What say, our Jimmy the chapel goer? Who fears all masters? Hi, Jocko, now long, my own sweet boozy love, which he puts his feeler to me behind the beggar's bush, does Frida. Don't you be an M.U.G. Carry one, he says, though we marooned through this wild. We must spy a half a hind on honeysuckler, now his old face is hard alone, with his defences down during his wapping still stand, says my Fred. And Jay messy me here, which pivot, she simply must, she says, our pet. She'll do a retroussy from her point of view, where you fly like a thrush, to keep her flounces off the grass, while paying the wet-me-nots a music hall visit and pair her fife-eyes for him with just one curl after the cad came back, which we thought he was a gunner, and his corkiness lay up 2 bottles of joy with the shandy had by Fred, and a fino oloroso which he was warming to. My right, Jimmy? My old brown freer? Whose dolor? Oh, so mine. Following idly up to Sea Point, meet King Mount Shadow, the ilk for eke of us, whose Natham's band, whose hoft a hooded welcome war sail, how do ye do? Holly merry ivy sad, Witcher and Hoor, Mr. Black Atkins, and you Tannapanny trooper twos, were you there? Was truce of snow, moon-mounded snow? Or did Vulcan hang o'er earth in umber hue his fulman bomb? Number 2 coming, full inside. Was glimpsed the mean amount of cloud, or did pitter rain fall in a sprinkling? If the waters could speak as they flow, Tingle Tom, Paul the Bell, Izzy's busy down the dell, Miss Palot, you, number 1, and deep humidity. Listen, misled peerless, please. You are, of course. You miss him so to listen to. Of course, my pledge between us, there's no one Noah like him here to hear. Esh so eshes, dose a dose. Since Alan Rogue loved Arapogue, it's all Kildall fair. Chris, only trees, such as these, such were those, waving there, the bark tree, the O'Brier tree, the rowan tree, the O'Cornell tree, the bean shrub near Windy Arbor, the Magillodendron more. Trem, all the trees in the wood they trembled humbled when they heard the stop press from Domeday's airwold. Tis 2 pretty mistletops, ribboned to a tree, uprose Liberator, and fancy they were free. 4 witty missy wives, winking on the hoods, made lasses like lads love maypole riding, and dotted our green with tricksome couples, 50-50, their children's 100. So childish pence took care of parents' pounds, and many made money, the way in the world where rush roads to riches crossed slums of life, and, the cause of it all, he forged himself ahead like a blazing urban orb, brewing treble to drown grief, giving and taking mayhem to him, playing milliards with his 3 golden balls, making party capital out of landed self-interest, light on a slavey but weighty on the bourse, our hugest commercial emporialist, with his sons booing home from afar, and his daughters bridling up at his side. Finner. How did he bank it up, swank it up, the whaler in the punt, a guinea by a groat, his index on the balance, and such wealth into the bargain, with the bogey which he snatched in the baggage coach ahead? Going forth on the prowl, Master Jackal, under night and creeping back, dog to hide over morning. Humbly to fall and cheaply to rise, exposition of failures. Through Duffy's blunders and McKenna's insurance for upper 10 and lower 5, the band played on, as one generation tells another, after the fall. First, for a change of a 7 days' license, he wandered out of his farmer's health and so lost his early parish life. Then, 'twas in Fenland, accidentally of a sudden, 6 June-looking flame faces straggled wild out of their turns through his parson-fired wicket, showing all shapes of striplings in sleepless tights. Promptly whom after, in undated times, very properly a dozen generations anterior to themselves, a main chanced to burst, and misflooded his fortunes, wroughing foul play over his 5's court, and his fine poultry yard, wherein were spared a just 2 of a feather in wading room only. Next, upon due reflotation, up started 4 Horgan gales to smithereen his plate-glass house walls and the slate for accounts his keeper was cooking. Then came 3 boy bugle-horners, who counter-bezeled and cross-bugled him. Later on in the same evening, 2 Hussites absconded through a breach in his bylaws and left him, the infidels, to pay himself off in kind remembrances, till, ultimatum, fell the crowning barley straw, when an explosion of his distilleries defedumped all his dry goods to his most favoured sin-flute, and dropped him, what remains of a heptarch, leer-eyed and letterish, weeping worry-bound on his bank rump. Pep, pay-bearer, sure and sorry, at foot of oh-ho-ho honest policist. On never again, by Phoenix, swore on him Lloyds, not for beaten wheat, not after Sir Joe Meade's father, thanks. They know him the Covenanter, by rote at least, for a chameleon at last, in his true false heaven colours from ultra-violent to sub-red tissues. That's his last tryon, to march through the grand triumphal arch. His rain-bolt shot, never again. How you do that like, Mr. Chimepiece? You got nice yum premium. Prepaid my promises. Agreed, Woo Welcher. He was chog-full to be axate on earn as in hiving, of fox-old conningnesses, but who, hey honey, for all values of his latters, integer integerimost was the foremast of the firm. At folkmood hailed, at part far wailed, accumulated concloud, nua, nebob of Nephilim. After all what followed for apprentice sake, since the now nigh's nearing as the yet ties in. Jeebies of Kekta, that was an ill man. Jawboos putty good, this is for true a Swedish man. But John Bluffer Baghdad, sir, yond would be for a once-over our all-honoured Christmas-tide Easter-ed man. 4th position of solution. How Johnny! Finest view from horizon. Tableau final. 2 me see. Male and female, unmask we hem. Begum by gun. Who now broods old brawn? Dawn. The nape of his name-shielder's scalp. Help! After having drummed all he done. Hun! Worked out to an inch of his core. More! Ring down! While the queen bee he stagger-horned, blesses her bliss, for to feel her funny man's functions. Tag. Rumbling. Tears, tears and tears. Rounds. 4. Sanjas, Sanjas, Sanjas. Calling all downs to Dane. Array, surrection. Ere a weaker to the world bloodin' world. O rally, O rally, O rally, flanks the O rally. To what lifelike kind of the bird can be. Seek you so many matters. H.C.E. to Oceania. Here, here, tas, pat, staff, waff, have, blove, and rotter. The smog is lofting, and already the older man has gotten upon other times to litinate the bon amours. Zon a fine, zon a fain avant. Gold modning, have you used Piers Ob? 10 years agone, we have used your sup, since when we have fused no author. Calling all Danes to dawn. The old breeding Bradstead Culmen-Wilts of natures to fine McCooligan. The leader. Securus jubilens albas temoram. Clogan slogan. Quake up, dim dusky. Wook doom for husky. And let Billy Fagan be ballad out of his humiliation. Confidential to churchin. We have highest gratifications in announcing to future publicans of partition prety users. Genghis is goon for you. A hand from the cloud emerges, holding a chart expanded. the ever-sower of the seeds of light to the cowled old souls that are in the domnatory of deaf-mute after the night of the carrying of the word of Noah's, and the night of making maize to cuddle up in a coddle-pot. Pu Nuseit, Lord of risings in the yonder world of Tamplin, Top triumphant, speaketh. Va, Suvarn Sur, scatter brand to the renewaler of the sky, thou who ignitest. Da, Arctur is coming. Be, verb unprincipient, through the transitive spaces. Kilt by Celt shall kith again with kin again. We elect for thee, Tert Angel, Svadesia salve. We Durbalanas thee adjure. Away the Margan from our Astamite, through dim-dom dun, till light-kindling light has led we hope us, but hunt me the journey on, itinerant the Cal his course, amid the cemetery of Somnionia, even unto Heliotropolis, the castellated, the enchanting. Now, if someone fetched at well, and someone else's warmet water we could, while you were saying Mokrat Myrie, or Smudbrunt and Robinson, make sun like silp on this warful Doon's bottom. Yet clarify begins at, whither the spot for, whence the hour by, see but, leave or hewn, take in, trespassers should be persecuted. Qui stabat mines, quantum qui stabat pines. As of yours, we and you, our shades of minglings mingle them, and help horizons. A flash and rash it shall come to pass, as heart by heart leaps live. For the tenderest stock with the rose in us, top Allen Hills, club pubber, in general stores, and atria throughwards, Lou the Brathwacker will be listened after, and he larruping sparks out of his tiny ones. The spear's spit of dawn fire to touch as ain the table stone at the centre of the great circle of the macroliths of Hellas Bellis in the Boshyman brush, on this our pain plain by Fangaluhu bite, whence the horned cairns urge, stands or standard to floor and throne, idols of Isthmians. Overwhere, gaunt grey ghostly gossips growing grubber in the glow, past now pulls. Cur one beast, even Dane the Great may treads path with sniffer his snout in pursuant to bylegs. Adars chuckle humoristic. But why pit the cur afore the knocks? Let shrill their doin' gallus, han and she, ho the Sasquehanna makes ducks runs at crooked. Once for the chanter mail, twice for the pother, and once twice thrice for the waiter. So an inedible yellow meat turns out the invisible black. What serves to rob with Aliman, Sailor, a turnkeyed trot to Sea Point, Pierrotettes, means Noel's Bar and Jewel Punch, by George, if you've tipper-taps in your head, or starting curses, Taylor, you're silenced at Henge College's Exmouth, Ostby's for Ost boys, each and one. Death banes, and the quick quoke, but life wends, and the domes spake. Wake? Hill of Hafid, knock and knock, Nakasach, gives relief to the landscape as he strouches his Lamusong unto upon Gazelle Channel and the bride of the brine, Shin High Shake, his daughter than ever for Adam's wed her father. Lamble on the up. We may pleasantly heal geography's 29 ways to say good bet, and wassings you soon live. With the 40 wonks winking, please me or much as to, with her top. It's a long, long ray to New Ergland's premier. For corpse, for stream fish, for confects, for bouillons, for smear sausage, for patates, for staked pig, for men, for limericks, for waterfowls, for wagsfools, for louts, for cold airs, for late trams, for curries, for curlews, for leekses, for orphalines, for tunnygulls, for clear goldways, for longforts, for moony haunts, for fair moneys, for coffins, for tantrums, for armours, for waglugs, for rogues' comings, for sly goings, for larks' maze, for Hans meads, for quails' meads, Killalooly. Tip, come lead, Cromlech. Top, Wisely for us, old Bruton has withdrawn his theory. You are absolutely rocht. Am-solom. But this is for porter rogging you, perhaps? Namandanai. Sure it's not revying you? Amslu. Good also. We seem to understand apad velum tom muniment arans duca among horseshoes, charioteers, and et heterogeneous bargain bout barrows offer an umda, since even if or although in double preposition as in triple conjunction, how the modern research in the topia that was Manke lands has gone to prove from the Pikalava present in the Mara Mara Melma that while a successive generation has been in the deep, deep deeps of deeper eras, buried hearts rest here. Conk do kill do slap. So let him slap the sap, till they take down his shatter from his shap. He can ease, fill stap. Thus far clacks the friar bird, listening, Sid. The child, a natural child, then known by the names of Aya, Aya, would-be was kidnapped at an age of recent, probably, possibly remoter. Or he conjured himself from sight by sleight of hand, for which the theatron is a lemeronage, at Milchgoat Fairmets, in full dog gist, sod on a fall, pat, the hundering, blundering dunderfunder of a plunder-sundered manhood. Behold, he returns, renascent, fin-carnate, still foretold around the hearthside, at matin of fact, hailed chimers erskine, foe permanent, fum in his mouth, a wykin wave resurging into crest, victis penis hesternis, fast fat of solas, from choicest of wiles with warmen and songs, till bonbe, burial arranging. Under Articles 39 of the Reconstitution, by the Lord's order of the Canon Consecrandable,